Hi, welcome to episode 107 of the Passionate Spinner podcast. My name is Tracy. You can find me as Schnüffeltier on Ravelry and Instagram. There's a Ravelry group for the podcast. Please come over, join. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'm going to do this every week now. It's just every time I want to do and try to get back to a weekly schedule, stuff just happens. So this time it was that I got sick. So I'm still not 100%, but I feel good. I'm back to feeling good. So I decided to sit down, do my podcast. And yeah, here I am. So what I'm wearing today. I'm wearing this blouse that I made almost a year ago. It was one of the distraction from reality sewing projects that I did last year when my dad passed away. And I actually really like it. It is made from a stretch cotton. And it is a little peplum. It has a little peplum. So I just like it. I'm very happy with it. You cannot really see, but it has a Peter Pan collar. You see when I pull it up? Could have done it in contrasting fabric, but I didn't want to. Maybe for our next blouse I will do. I don't know. Because I think I could do this again. Or use just the peplum part, because that really fits well and feels nice, and then put a skirt on instead of just a peplum. I don't know yet. We'll see. So, knitting in the past. I have one thing to show. If you've watched my last podcast, you know that I went to the Perth Festival of Yarn. And I had no real trouble knitting on the needles because I had my vanilla sweater that needed sleeves. So I would haul the whole sweater around with me at all times. And I had the Longline Cardigan that I'm going to show in a minute. And that was just too much because I'm doing a fade and I would have to take all the yarn and yeah. So I decided to start something new. And my decision went to a flax for Tim. And this is it. I cast this on Thursday evening in Perth in our hotel room. And I bound off the second sleeve on the way home from the airport in the car. So it's completely done. I did it completely while on vacation. Isn't it cute? I would so have loved to have enough yarn of this to make this sweater for me because I think these colors are just amazing. So yeah, here it is. It is the Flex pattern by PassioKnit. It's a free pattern. It's the worsted weight version. I did not do the garter ridges on the sleeves because I wanted to have an easy stockinette and around project. I knit the 4-year size. No, where is it here? 4 or 5 years. I don't know. I checked how much yardage I had and went for the size that corresponded best with that. That ended up being, I'm gonna tell you. So this is, like I said, a free pattern. So, here it is. I knit the 4 to 6 year size. So, the yarn that I used is Briar Rose, the 4th of July. So this is the label. And this is the back side. And this is how much I had left. I received this yarn years and years ago in a club that I was a part of. And I've always loved it, and it was intended from the club as a hat and scarf set. And I didn't want to do that because it felt like wasting this nice yarn for just a scarf. So I kept it all these years and now knit this sweater for Tim. And I'm really happy with it. I did try getting a second one off of D-Stash, when I received it. But mine seemed to be way darker than most of the other ones, so they wouldn't really match. And so I decided to not get a second skein. So yeah, here it is. Flex light, no, not light, a flex, just a flex for Tim. The needles that I used are US 6 and a US 8. That's a 4 and 5 millimeter needle. And as you can see, I used up almost all of the yarn. The pattern said you needed 500 yards for the size, and I had 550 yards, and I think that is probably 50 yards that I have left over. So pretty perfect match. I'm really happy with it. And when I showed it to Tim and said, look, mommy, finish your sweater, he was like, thank you, mommy. And he grabbed the sweater and, you know, hugged it. So I think he likes it. It's still too warm here to try it on or to wear it, you know. And I haven't taken any modeled pictures yet, but yeah, we will do that sometime in the future. So this is my knitting in the past. Now for knitting in the present, I have exactly one project. And that is my Longline Cardigan by Hopi Locatelli. Now, this is not a free pattern, so I have to make sure to not show you the pattern, but want to show you what it's supposed to look like. So this is it. This is my project. This is number 1 for my 3 intended projects for the Hopi Fall Cow that's going on right now. And I am in the 5th color on the body, so I'm almost done with my body. So, trying to get all of the important stuff out. Okay, so the first yarn, I'm going to show the sweater first and then talk about the yarns. So let's see, how will I show this? So this sweater is knit in one piece with a gigantic shawl collar. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to hold it like this so you can see the colors. So this is my fade on it. I'm going to show the back. So here we go. I'm really happy with how it's turning out. I decided to go with the lightest yarn at the end of the spectrum instead of in the middle. And I'm really, really glad that I did it that way. It's going to be amazing. It is very, very bright and colorful. So not, you know, not perfect for me as a true autumn person, but I don't care. I think this is going to be stunning. It's going to be super nice and soft. So let's talk about stuff. The first color up here is this one. This is the thickest of all of them because this is an actual real DK weight. And it is Hedgehog Fibers. I received it in the club, so it's a potluck colorway. And I have this much left to get started on the 2 sleeves. So I'm going to divide it and get both sleeves caps started. And that is the label for that one. Hedgehog Fibers Merino DK in a potluck. Then the next color, this one here, this nice dark red, is this yarn. The other yarns that I'm using are sport weight, and that yarn is Dibadu. It is 100% merino again, so that's her label. It's not going to focus, and I will not care. So yarn number 2 is this one here. Then yarn number 3, this one is this yarn. And it's the exact same base, but by a different hand dyer. I'm going to go with this one, I think. Yeah, that is my yarn number 3. It is from Handgefärbt. She was a German indie dyer. She's been out of business for a lot of, like 5, 6, 7 years now. So I've had this in my stash for quite a while. The last color that is already finished, this one here, is another one from Handgefärbt, and I have quite a big chunk left of this because I put the cardigan on yesterday and I like the length it is now, so I'm going to just go with that. And that's the label for that last yarn. And then I faded into the color number 5, which you can't really tell, but it is there. And this is this yarn here. And I'm going to use this for like another inch of stockinette and then do the bottom ribbing. And that is from Knitting Spiro. And she is out of business as well. So using up a lot of old stash for this, which is good. I'm not quite sure how long my sleeves will be because, as you saw, some of the leftovers are quite small. But I really don't care. I'm going to use up all of the yarn and see how far it will get me. I'm really happy with this. I'm going to finish the body today, I think, because you know it's about that much left. I can knit that in a day, and then I just have to do the sleeves, which you know I don't have a problem with sleeves, and I don't get stuck on Sleeve Island, and it doesn't bother me, and it doesn't bother me to have to do 2 of them normally. But lately, I feel like I have a real problem with sleeves, because when I have this body of the sleeve of the sweater done, I have 5 sweaters that just need sleeves, or 4 that just need sleeves to be done, and 1 that needs the sleeves to be able to do the all-in-one yoke. So I think when I have my the body of this sweater done, I will take a picture for my Instagram and make myself accountable to knit 10 sleeves in the next few weeks. Because, you know, that will give me 4 finished sweaters. Or is it 4? I definitely have the Longline Cardigan that needs sleeves. Then I have the Timeless Henley that just needs sleeves. I have my vanilla sweater that needs sleeves. And I thought I had something else in there. I definitely need to knit the sleeves on my Carbeth that I started last year. Because without sleeves, I cannot finish the whole thing. So definitely 4 sweaters for sleeves. And I was sure I needed to knit 10 sleeves, but yeah. Either I'm fantasizing, is that a word? Either I'm imagining another sweater, or I'm just forgetting about it right now. So either way, my brain doesn't really work as it should. Now, knitting in the future. Of course, apart from having to knit 10 sleeves, I want to start something new. And I was browsing Ravelry, and I thought, oh, I really like the Chuck sweater by Amy Sutherland. It's a cropped sweater out of worsted weight yarn that I could wear with my Hollyburn skirts. And then I looked at the yarn and thought, oh, you really don't need all that much of yarn. So I went down and found handspun that I want to use. And it is the latest 3 skeins in my leftover yarn series that I'm doing. I do not like doing the Andean bracelet. You know, when you spin and you have 2 bobbins and there's more on one than on the other, and you run out of one of them, you can do an Andean bracelet and just use up all of it. And I hate doing that, so I don't do it. So I leave the leftover bits and pieces just on my bobbins, and once a year I ply them together. And the first 5 or 6 years of my spinning career went into a gigantic poncho that I knit when I was pregnant. And I have these 3 skeins now accumulated, and they look like they were meant to go in 1 skein. And I am not actually sure how that works, but they look like they were a combo spin destined to be a sweater. So I will use these 3 skeins. This is quite a heavy skein, so it should be enough. And, you know, I am going to knit a top-down cropped sweater. So I'm going to do the body part first, and when I have whatever I have left will go into the sleeves. And if they end up being like this, I don't care. It's just whatever I have left. So, like I said, I really like the Chuck sweater, but I think the Chuck sweater has a cable pattern down the front, and I think that this yarn doesn't need a cable. It's just going to be too much. So I wanted to do it stockinette, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna get the pattern, just do not do the cable, and it's a paid-for pattern. And then I looked through Amy Sutherland's other patterns, and I found basically a cable-less Chuck. So it's called a cropped sweater for winter. It's a free pattern. It was published on some kind of blog, and I just copied all the instructions, put them in a file, and printed it out. So it's a free pattern, and it is for a worsted weight top-down cropped sweater without any interesting bits. So I'm going to use this to knit this sweater for myself, and then I hope to be able to wear it to my gray Hollyburn skirt, because I think that that will be a perfect fit. So I can't really show you anything on the pattern. I mean, it's free, and this is what I have. So yeah, that's what I did. I decided to save some money because it's, you know, it's a pattern. It's by the same author. It's the same yarn weight. It's the same gauge. It just doesn't have a cable. So I decided to go with the free version. I do not have spinning. Of course I don't, because I'm just not in a spinning mood at all. I'm not sure what's wrong with me. For new stuff, I have tons of new stuff because I went to a yarn festival, but I'm gonna do a separate video for those. So I will not show this stuff here, but I will show my new book. I got this book because I love Nora Gone and I love her designs and her patterns, especially this one. And this book is amazing. And what this book is, it's not new. It's a compilation of all the patterns, or most of the patterns, not sure if it's all of them, that Nora Gone published in Vogue Knitting magazine through the years. So it has just wonderful things in there. So I'm going to show you just one thing. It's the first pattern that I will not show the pattern in. I'm going to show the first thing in here. So it looks like this. This is the first thing. It says the name here, and on top of it, it says the original magazine where it was published. So this cabled vest was originally published in the Spring Summer magazine of Vogue Knitting in 1987. This book is so amazing. So that's the first pattern. And the last pattern is this stranded knitting sweater. And that was published in Vogue Knitting magazine, winter 2017-18. So it goes all the way through those 30 years. And yeah, there's so wonderful things in here. And I really like some of the things from the 80s and 90s, because some of those are actually very, very en vogue right now. So what I absolutely want to knit for myself, if I can find it, of course, is this one, the counter pig pullover. I've had it in my queue forever, but I didn't want to buy the magazines, and I have packed the book. I love this one. Want to make it. It was published in the winter 2000-2001 issue. Then the Mobius hooded pullover, I really like. It's a great idea. From Spring Summer 2005. Then of course the cabled bolero, that's also called Capecho on Ravelry, from winter 2006 and 2007. And I do have the original magazine, and I've wanted to knit this ever since. So, you know, now that it's like 11 years later, I will finally tackle it, I think, because I just adore this bolero. And the last thing I definitely want to make for myself is right in the back, this one. It is this cabled gorgeousness here. It looks like this from the front. So, and this was published very recently, Spring Summer 2017. And a podcast viewer actually messaged me on Ravelry and said, this looks like a sweater for you. And I said, absolutely. This is a sweater for me. And now I can knit it. I'm very happy. This is a book that I will use a lot, I think, because I love the designs. I love Nora Gone. I love her approach with cables because I love knitting cables. So although you haven't really seen me knit a lot of cables, I know, but I do love them. So I think it might be time for me to get back to a cable sweater. So what? I'm a bit out of it. Must be all the snot clogging my head because I have a sinus infection, which is nice. You know, I have it a few times a year. So reading, listening, watching. I've been reading. I read this book. I started it on Saturday evening. Was it Saturday? Yeah, it was, because I had a free weekend to get as healthy as I could because I'm alone this week with the kid. So I need to have my strength. So I was alone this weekend. And I wanted to do a VKN, but I felt like shit, so I didn't. What I did instead was watch Bake Off and read. So I read this book, Six of Crows by Leigh it's the first book in a duology. I finished this last night. I'm going to start this one today. Crooked Kingdom, second book in the series, and the last book in the series. So, what this is, it's been advertised and, you know, brought out to the world as kind of an Ocean's 11 for teenagers. It's being talked about as being a heist book, which I don't really agree with, I have to say. So let's see. I love the book, love the story, love the character, love the ideas. The characters themselves are great. They have backstories. They are all very, you know, violent and all horrible backstories, but they are interesting characters. The idea behind the whole book is great. So the universe this is taking place in is called the Grishaverse, and she wrote a trilogy, the Grisha trilogy, that is basically the first books in this world setting that she thought of. And these are in the same universe, but with totally different people. So you can read those without having read the Grisha books. And I said on my Instagram a few days ago, just when I had started, that I'm not sure yet if I liked the book. And someone said, oh, you should have read the trilogy first. And I was like, no, because every booktuber and all the reviews say you do not need to read the trilogy to understand these books. It's like, yeah, but it's better to start in the beginning. It might be, because I didn't want to read the trilogy. You know, I do have it, but I wanted to read this one. And as everybody on the planet says, you can read those without the other ones. I did. And I very soon realized what it was that bothered me about the book. And it was not that I didn't understand what was going on, because, you know, I'm quite smart sometimes. So I did understand what was happening. I understood the world building, and I got, you know, everything. So what you have is you have a crew of 6 people that go on this heist adventure. And the actual heist is not stealing something, but stealing someone. So I'm not sure if it's a heist or a rescue mission or an abduction, but it doesn't feel right to me to say it's a heist when you steal a person. So these 6 people that go on this adventure are all social outcasts. They are all criminals in some shape or form. And they all have very gruesome backstories. You know, the girls, one of them was had to work as a slave in a brothel for 2 years and escaped a year ago and since become an assassin and a spy. The other one was captured in a slave ship to be brought to justice, which being executed, and the ship got wrecked, and she survived together with one of the witch hunters that hunted her down in the first place, and they kind of formed this bond, and then she betrayed him and he got stuck in prison for a year, and now she is working in a brothel, but not, you know, with her body, but with her powers as a Grisha. And so that's the 3. Then we have a young guy who's a sharpshooter and loves his guns. Then we have a runaway from a rich family that ends up falling into the wrong crowd, basically falling in with the wrong crowd, who's very good at MacGyverish stuff, you know, building bombs and mechanical things. And then the leader of the pack is supposed to be this very frightening gangster boss that everyone fears and no one wants to run in with. So that all sounds very plausible, you know, and in my head, it would make total sense if these people were between like 28 and 35. Total sense. But they are 16, 17, and 18. And that is the one point that I hate about the book, because it does not make sense to me. All the backstory that these people have, all the skills, the way they talk, the way they act, not teenagers. Not even in a world that is different from ours, you know. I mean, I'm a teacher, and 15 through 17 is the age of kids that I teach. They would never in a million years behave that way. And never in a million years can a 17-year-old be the feared gangster boss in town. That's just, it does not make sense. And that is the part that I hated about the book and that I still don't like. So it has nothing to do with me not having read the first book or the first trilogy. It's just that thing, that single thing about it that I dislike, because it doesn't add up for me. Apart from that, perfect book. So in my head, these people will continue to be 10 years older than they are supposed to be, because then it makes total sense. And yeah, that's my opinion on this. Good. No, actually, I did. When I formed this opinion in my head, I went on Goodreads and read some of the reviews. And there's a lot of people agreeing with me. You know, awesome book, perfect storytelling, great writing. It's, you know, I read the whole thing in like 5 days. And that is the one thing that doesn't fit. And a lot of people see it that way, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right way. For me, it is. So that's what I'm sticking with. I didn't listen to anything interesting, but I did watch the stuff. I watched 6 seasons of Bake Off. I watched seasons 1 through 6. So in the last 2 weeks. I'm not ashamed of it at all. I have season 7 to go. I'm in the middle of that right now, and then I'm done, because seasons 8 and 9 that is airing currently are not available yet. So yeah. I'm going to be done with all of the seasons with Mary Berry and Mel and Sue as the hosts. And I'm very happy with that. I love Bake Off. I love to bake, you know. I'm kind of a trained professional when it comes to kitchen stuff because of my job. So seeing what people can do, you know, I always thought I was good at this, but now I'm really questioning myself. And I want to try out so much stuff. So the list, I have a notebook next to me when I watch Bake Off, and the list of things I want to try is growing and growing and growing. So I'm going to do a lot of baking in the near future, I hope. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been watching Bake Off, and I've been knitting on a Longline cardigan. That is all I did. Okay, there is no sewing. My room downstairs, where I usually sew, is a mess. And I do not want to go downstairs to clean, which means that I cannot sew, because there's just, I cannot sew before I clean, and I don't want to clean, so there's no sewing. For everything else, I have 2 things. Like I said, I wanted to do a VKN last weekend because I was alone, and I wanted to have just, you know, a nice, perfect evening with my girls and my friends. And then I was so sick that I didn't want to, so I'm going to do it this weekend, which is Saturday, 22nd of September. 9 p.m. Berlin time. Like always, I will post a link in the thread in the Ravelry group for VKNs, and you just have to click on that link and you're in. So I hope you can make it. It's, you know, 2 days from now. It's Thursday now. Gonna do it on Saturday. I hope it will work. I hope you will be there. Cannot wait to talk to you all. So, and the other thing I already said, I'm going to film a bonus extra episode for all the stuff I got in Perth. So if you want to hear about my trip and what I bought, want to see everything, you should check that video out. And if you are not interested in what I buy, you shouldn't. So that's the long and short of it. I am done. I've nothing really to talk about anymore. And, you know, when you don't knit a lot of projects, you don't have stuff to talk about, which is okay. So I hope you all have a wonderful time. I hope I will be able to podcast next week. I'm not sure yet, because we might have something exciting coming, and we might not. So we will see. I will let you know, or you will see when a video pops up. And until then, I hope you enjoy everything you do. Bye.